Well, good morning. It is so great to be here. Thanks, Johnny, for that very nice introduction. And thanks to Exodus. Weren't they fantastic? They were great worship music. I have to tell you, I have often read about Liberty University. I know a lot about your school from what I've read, but it's the first time I've ever been here, and I am so excited to share a few words with you today. You have a great school, and you should be very proud to be part of it, so give yourselves a round of applause for that. But you know, I was thinking, these young men and women get about 300 convocations over the course of your 4-year career here. I thought, what am I going to say that will pierce through all the message you get that can be meaningful to you? Because I want it to be meaningful to you. I want you to walk out of here with something that you can use in your life. And I am a lot like you in many ways, except for one big difference. I have 30 years on all of you. You're about 18 to 22. I'm 53. And what I know, don't laugh, please. It happens to all of you eventually. But my goal is one thing for you today. I want you to walk away knowing that love works. And it doesn't just work with your Christian friends. It doesn't just work with your family. It doesn't just work if you're a full-time missionary in Africa. It doesn't just work with those you like. If you walk out of here today, from my own experience, and I'll share some of my experience, knowing that love can work everywhere, and it can work in the marketplace too. It can work if you're a lawyer. It can work, I think, if you're a politician. I'm not sure about that one. But I'm confident. We have a lot of Christians in politics. But from my own experience as a business leader, I am 100% certain that love works in the marketplace. And there is a lie going out in the world right now. There is a false sense of belief that business is somehow inherently evil, or that all business people are greedy, or they have to do bad things to be successful. And don't buy into that lie. There are a lot of great business people trying to do the right thing. And from my own experience, I'm going to show you what I've lived through, and hopefully you'll walk away knowing that love does work. You can be a caring person, caring about others, and still be a great leader. You can be one person at home and at church and at work, and not have to be different when you go into the office or go in to be a lawyer or whatever you choose to do in life. And you can live out your faith in anything that you do in life. And I know a lot of you are probably struggling with that this morning. And I want to assure you, and I want you to walk out of here knowing that that can happen. But the best way I think I could communicate that to you is tell you a few stories. And through those stories, I'll share with you what I've learned and kind of what I've been through, and hopefully you'll walk away knowing that love can work for you too. The first picture I want to share with you is a picture when I grew up in Battle Creek, Michigan. Battle Creek, Michigan, all right, cereal capital of the world. You can see it wasn't much of a home. My father was a failed entrepreneur, and I lived in this house till I was about 12 years old. And my mother told me at my father's funeral that he brought home about $50 a week for over 3 years. And do the quick math, that's about $2,700 a year. And so I grew up in a very humble environment, but I always knew my parents loved me, but I always had a desire to be successful because I knew what it felt like not to have money. And unfortunately, to me, I say unfortunately now, that success was defined by making money. And that's a lot of what drove me early on. This next picture is me at 5 years old. And, isn't that cute? You'll notice 4 things immediately about this picture. The first is I'm filthy, because I was always playing in the dirt. The second is I'm packing a small firearm on my right-hand hip. which probably was not legal at the time. It was a toy. The third thing is that car is 1954. You guys probably don't realize that, but this is 1964. I'm 5, and it's a 1950 car. My father always had 14-year-old cars hanging around. That was a hand-me-down from my uncle because he couldn't afford his own cars. And the last thing about that picture that's very important is I was strumming a guitar. And I was strumming it left-handed. Did you notice that? I was a lefty. Now there was a very, all you lefties, you guys know, you're all in your right mind. And all lefties have a tendency to be smarter than others. Or you're either smarter than others or you're more neurotic than others. And I think I'm the latter. But there was a very famous left-handed person in 1964 who's coming up in the next picture. You guys are probably too young to remember, but Sir Paul McCartney of the Beatles. So, the reason I'm showing this is just like you, or a lot of you, and just like everybody up here with Exodus today, I wanted to be a rock star when I was little. I thought for sure with my left-handedness, and Paul McCartney was left-handed, maybe I could be a rock star too. So my brothers and I, we had a rock band called the Berlin Airlift, and we played Beatles songs, and we played high school dances. But then at this one dance, everybody there started asking for us to play our own songs. And our own songs stunk. And so I realized, I'm not going to be a rock star. So then I moved on from there and tried to do sports. And a lot of you maybe had that desire growing up. You want to be a professional athlete. Well, about that time, at 16 years old, which is the year, by the way, I became a Christian at a Fellowship of Christian Athletes camp, which is great organization. That same year, in a high school basketball game, I guarded Magic Johnson. You know who Magic Johnson is? NBA, Hall of Fame. Well, I held Magic to 42 points. So, I realized that basketball probably wasn't the way I was going to make my living. So I went on to Albion College, nice liberal arts school. It's only about 3,000 people. Played football and baseball there. But then I thought maybe baseball would be my thing. I played baseball against Eastern Michigan, which is a Division I great program, really good program. They had a guy pitching named Bob Welch. Now you are too young to remember him, but he was a Cy Young Award Hall of Fame pitcher for the Oakland Athletics is what he became. But at that time he was pitching against me, and I struck out 3 times on 9 pitches. And I'm not exaggerating. So all of a sudden, baseball was checked off my list. But then the only thing I really had left was to go into academics. And I did apply out of Albion to go to Harvard Business School. I was fortunate enough to get in. So I went to Harvard right out of undergrad. Well, actually, I took 2 years working for General Motors first. But from then, it was a complete whirlwind. And we don't have time to go through all that, but I will tell you what I learned from it. I started, as Johnny said, went to Saturn during the Saturn startup. Great years. Literally working 20 hours a day, 6 days a week. We went from 0 to 5 billion in 3 years. We had 350 dealerships added around the country. It was a really good track record. And the success of Saturn, which was really relentless, I went from there to Sob North America. And I was only 36-year-old. We have a picture of the article that came out in the Automotive News. There it is. Now you'll notice how incredibly young I look then versus now. But that was when I went to Sob North America. And it was a great experience, but again, it was a relentless pursuit of more and a relentless effort to work every single day, achieving. And I was thinking to myself all this time, how can you love others at work and still be successful? How can you do that? Because everything I was being modeled was only about the numbers. Hit the numbers, achieve. And it started feeling relentless to me. And then the executives there added Asia to my plate. So I went to have all of Asia, all of South America, and at 36 years old, with 4 little kids, I was traveling 80% of the time. And my marriage was on the rocks. I was having a very difficult time. And it was so difficult in my own personal life that I went back to my boss, who was head of Sob worldwide, and I said, please, I cannot do this anymore. I'm mentally struggling. The stress is too much. I can't take Asia. Please take Asia back. I just want to run the United States. That was enough. We were having enough trouble of our own. And he said, no. He said, you're doing a great job. We need you to keep going. And so from there, I had a decision to make. Do I follow what I think's right for my family, or do I keep going down this path? And all of you are going to have decision points like that in your life. And you're going to have to make a decision and follow your heart. Now for me, I made a decision to leave Sob, and then I went to a .com, which was called Greenlight.com, and it was Amazon's card tab. I think we have a picture of that. It happens to be a picture from Automotive News, but the guy sitting next to me in that Sob is Jeff Bezos, who's the head of Amazon. You guys probably buy a lot of stuff from Amazon, great company, but in the year 2000, if you clicked on Amazon, it went to our company to buy their car. And what I thought was a move to try to save my family and not travel so much ended up being a complete disaster. And I don't have time to tell the whole story, but my first day of work, literally my first day of work was when the NASDAQ crashed. Our funding got pulled. We were burning through cash. Our company had 90 days to live, and I had to lay off most of the team over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And it was a horrible, horrible experience. And I went through depression. I drank too much to try to get through the stress. And the reason I want to share that is, you get announced like this by Johnny, and you read people's resumes, and you think, wow, they had such a great life, and they've been so successful. All of you will go through situations like this. You're all going to make mistakes. You're all going to wish you hadn't done things that you do. And that was at the lowest point in my life, wondering, what in the world am I going to do now? This company's going to go out of business. I don't know what to do. And luckily, at that point, I got a phone call from Jack Herschend, who's the owner of Herschend Family Entertainment. And I had been on the board of that company for 3 years. But he saw enough in me that at the depths of my own despair, he called me and asked me to run Herschend Family Entertainment. I had no theme park experience, only an auto guy. And I knew it was a calling from God to start fresh. And all that previous experience, those 20 years in the car industry, running Sob, being second in command at Saturn, and even the Harvard MBA and all the terrible experience at Greenlight, I can tell you all I really learned was mostly bad and poor leadership. All I learned was that leadership was all about the bottom line. But what Jack Herschend has told me is that you can be loving and you can be profitable. And I want to share just a few of the principles with you that he taught me, because I hope that you can walk out seeing with a few examples that it can work. I'm going to tell 4 quick stories, and I think you'll get a feel for what I'm talking about. At Herschend Entertainment, what we do, it's very unique. I've never seen it in business before. We take 1 Corinthians 13, and we pull out 7 words from 1 Corinthians that define love. Paul's famous verse, love is patient, love is kind. We pull out 7 words that are outlined in the book Love Works. But the first word that I want to share with you and give you a feel for is the word unselfishness. It's a word you don't hear in business very often. And the definition of unselfish is think of yourself less. It's not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. And the way our company does this is a unique program. And remember this, because some of you can use this someday in your own businesses. It's a foundation called Share It Forward. And it starts with our employees' own unselfishness. They take their hard-earned dollars, some of them minimum wage workers, and they give into this foundation. And then we match it as a company dollar for dollar, and we use all that money to help our employees in need. And we have all kinds of programs to help our employees get through financial crises. And I could tell you some of those stories, but I thought the most effective way to show you is through a video clip from Undercover Boss. And a lot of you may have seen the show Undercover Boss. It's CBS's #1 reality show. It actually just won an Emmy Award. There are some very good programs. Some of them aren't so good. But we were fortunate enough to be on the first year. And for those of you who haven't seen it, the basic premise of the program is a CEO goes undercover in a disguise, and my name was John Briggs, and they really didn't know who I was. You work with these employees, and then at the end, it's revealed who you are. And in this case, we gave them some things that came out of this foundation that I'm talking about. So with that, why don't we roll the clip? And it's about 4 minutes.
Joel Manby, CEO of Herschend Family Entertainment, is undercover in his own company. His coworkers think he's being filmed for a documentary about someone trying out entry-level jobs.
Good morning, Albert.
Hey, good morning.
This is John Briggs.
Nice to meet you.
He's going to be working with you today.
Come over here, John. We'll get you on a turnstile.
Okay, let's do it.
This is all about your first impressions. So it's really a fun experience. I grew up at this park. I've been on this park since I was 2 years old. I have all these ideas about theme parks and stuff. It's not just a place I work, it's my passion. I have to work to go to school, and I'm trying to go to school for work. I'm just doing 10 hours this semester, and then working 40+ hours a week also. Wow.
What do you think the ideal job is here?
I would like to eventually be a CEO of Herschend Properties.
Who's in that job now?
Joel Manby is our CEO.
Well, I have a lot of emotion for Albert. I really respect his passion and energy. That's great, because you can channel that. And it definitely makes me want to try to help in some way.
My name's Richard.
Hi, Richard. I'm John.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So just open it up and turn the black part.
Whoa. Whoa.
Just keep it keen tight, and when I release the pressure, just take that loose. Okay.
I'm pulling it apart now.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Richard. Uh-oh.
I think my hose is leaking.
Come back behind you here.
Whoa, sorry, man. Don't get my boss wet on the first day.
It's already got me wet.
Whoops.
You might just stay behind me.
Where do you live?
I live in Galena because 2 years ago we lost our house in a flood. It was rough because we actually lived in a pop-up camper at first. We didn't have a place to go right then. So we still got quite a bit of work to do.
You're a hard-working man. I was overwhelmed hearing that. His whole home being wiped out from a flood. Everything is gone, and he's still working his way through that. Now it's time for me to reveal my true identity to each of the people I worked with over the past week. Well, I'm actually Joel Manby, and I'm CEO of Herschend Entertainment.
No. That was you, okay?
Oh, man.
Man.
That was a pretty good...
You got
John
me.
Briggs.
Richard, you are a very special man, and you have a really special heart.
Thank you.
And we're very lucky to have a man like you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
That story about losing your home really touched me. And what I'd like to do is, for your home, allocate the full $10,000 of catastrophic funds that we have available to help you redo your house.
You got me good.
You've inspired me to start a scholarship program. You're gonna get to go to school full-time. So you don't have to work all day. You don't have to go to school at night. We're gonna actually pay you your 40 hours a week salary while you go to school. We need a lot of people like you with your kind of passion, your kind of enthusiasm.
First thing I'm calling is my parents. I'm gonna be jumping up and down while I'm telling them, and I'm gonna hear my dad. I know he's gonna be so proud.
Well, thank you for that. It's very meaningful, very touching, and but my main point is, don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't have a great influence on somebody in the business world or being a lawyer or being a doctor, because you can touch people no matter what field you are in, and you can show love like we showed love to Albert. And what's neat about what happened after the show is that foundation only helped 50 people the year I did that show. This year, we're going to help almost 800 families through our company, which is incredible. But I know for you, you can't necessarily start a foundation in your company yet. You haven't started your company yet, or whatever you're going to do. But I want to encourage you, don't let that stop you. Because I know your generation, you care a lot. And what I have experienced as a leader in my 30 years is you look around and you have two options of how to handle the pain. There is so much pain out there everywhere, whether it's hunger in Africa or the pain in the United States or the pain in your own family. You can, if you get exposed to it all, you can get overwhelmed by all the need. And you can just really, it freaks you out because you can't change it all. The reaction for me in my career, I shut it down. I had to shut it out because I didn't have the time and resources to help everybody. And you must resist that temptation. Andy Stanley, a great friend of mine and a great pastor of North Point Church in Atlanta, he has a principle that's very, very important. The principle is do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. And what I chose to do because of Andy's encouragement is I chose Albert and Richard, and I followed them through all their situations. Richard's house is fixed now. Albert's going to school at Valdosta State. But I went deep with those two men because I could afford it, I could take the time. But every one of you did that. If every one of you helped one or two others, just think what that would do. So don't be overwhelmed by it all and miss the opportunity to help somebody. Pick one, pick two. Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. That's one way you can show love in anything you do. And so I want you to think about who is God putting on your mind right now that you could help and be unselfish to. The second word from love that we execute at Herschend I want to share with you is kindness. And kindness is not being nice all the time, right? We can't be nice all the time. We have to hold people accountable. But what kind does mean is to be an encouragement to other people. And unfortunately, we don't see enough of that in our life today, and especially you. Let me ask you this question. There's about 10,000 of you in here. How many of you have had too much encouragement in your life? All right, that's good. About 3 of you. That's more than normal. That's 3 times the average. It's good if you've had a lot of encouragement, but the fact is, life has a way of beating us up every day. And there's plenty you can feel bad about every day. It's important as Christians, as we love each other, it's to help each other and encourage each other. And our owner, Jack Herschend, taught me so much about how to encourage and still hold people accountable. Jack Herschend, who's our owner, writes these wonderful handwritten notes. And we have a picture of one. I just want to show you one because it's so meaningful, and how the fact that he still expresses himself with a simple handwritten note. I know you can't read that, but I just wanted you to see, they're simple, they're one page, but there's a story behind this note. And there was a point about 3 years ago where I was recruited to go to one of our competitors, and the pay offer was double what I was making. And so I was thinking, man, I've got to think about this. I just have to think about it. And literally, the same week that happened, I went home, and that note that you saw on the screen was sitting at the dinner table, and it was addressed to my wife and our 4 kids. And the note said, "Dear Marky, Lauren, Aaron, Jesse, and Annie, over the past 2 days, I had the privilege of watching your dad provide the most awesome leadership to the president's team. It was the kind of leadership that leads to actions pleasing to Jesus. I am so thankful that you chose to share him with us. Appreciably, Jack." Now, you're too young to know how rare that is for a boss to write the spouse of one of his workers. But that one little note, you know what my wife said about taking that new job? She said, "No. The last time you took a job for money, it was a disaster." That was the Greenlight thing where I almost lost it all. encouragement is critical. Jack spends the first 20 minutes of every day thinking about yesterday and what he can encourage. And he writes 3 to 4 of those notes every single day. You do that every day, you're writing 1,000 or so a year. Just think of what you could do in encouraging other people. So don't start your day thinking about just what you have to do today. Think about yesterday. What friend needs encouragement? So think about that. Think about who is God putting in your mind right now that needs some encouragement in your life, and they need encouragement. You can go back to your dorm and write them tomorrow morning. The third one, I just want to hit 4 words, and then I'll wrap it up real quickly. The third word is truthful. Truthful. And it's not a word that Christians tend to be very good at. Most Christian organizations I've seen, nonprofits I've been on the board of, Christians have a hard time telling each other the truth. And I have found the best leaders, the best friends in my life are people who really tell me the truth. And if I could encourage you, if you forget most of what I've said, if I could encourage you in one thing that's been instrumental in my life, is to have an accountability group. There are 3 other men that speak the truth into my life. And these are 3 men. I have a picture of them. I want you to see their faces because these are real people. And they're people of all places. I met them at Harvard Business School, at a Bible study at Harvard Business School. Now, is that an oxymoron? A Bible study at Harvard Business School. But the 3 men, 2 real estate guys, and the one on the far right is Kevin Jenkins. He's now head of World Vision Worldwide. Just a fantastic, very talented man. But I talk to these guys every month, every Friday, 10 o'clock, first Friday of the month. And I see them live once a year. Our families know each other. We've grown up together. Accountability is one of the best ways you can show love to another human being, is tell them the truth. And if you find a leader who does that to you, if you find a friend who does that to you, latch on to them, even though the truth is painful sometimes. Truth is critical. And the last one is being dedicated. And I want to tell one last story, and that's the story of Jesus on his last night here on earth. And we have a picture of Jesus washing Peter's feet here that we can put up. But you think about this moment, Jesus' last night on earth. He knew he was going to be crucified the next day. Just think of all the things he could have done in that last night. He could have brought his scrolls with all of his teachings. He could have brought money to give to his disciples. He could have introduced them to politicians and people of influence. He could have brought in others to help them along the way. But instead, he got down on his hands and knees and he washed his disciples' feet. You think about how freaked out those guys must have been when only slaves did that. You think about how powerful that moment was. Of all the things he could have done, he chose to do that because Jesus believed that love works. And the only way we can display our Christianity is to love other people. He said to him that night, "Love others so that they will know you are my disciples." And sometimes, frankly, I think we all get too caught up in what am I going to do and how is God going to use me? And I know a lot of you are struggling with that because when I was your age, I struggled with that. And that's why I told you all the different careers I wanted to be in. I know some of you are struggling with that. Jesus just wants us to love others. It's the number 1 commandment. And you can do that anywhere. Worry more about what type of person you're being and not what you're doing every day. And that'll take a lot of the pressure off. Think about how to love others. Now and I think Jesus showed great dedication in washing the disciples' feet. Now there are 3 other words. I'm not going to go into them. I don't have time. They're trusting, patient, and forgiving that round out the 7 words. And I know I'm out of time, so I will shamelessly promote my book, which is called Love Works, and I'm entitled to do that, right? But I want you to know about it because all the proceeds, all the royalties go to the foundation. So I don't get anything off of it. If you have any interest in what I've talked about and going into the 7 words farther, you can buy the book, Love Works, and it goes in a very practical way some of the things we've talked about this morning. But let me close with this. 20 years of my life, that whole experience I told you about at General Motors, everyone told me leadership is just about the bottom line. It is about the bottom line, but it's about the bottom line and loving other people. So think about being unselfish. Who can you be unselfish to? Think about kindness. Who can you be kind to and show encouragement? Think about truthfulness. Who do you need to be truthful with? Those are all ways to love other people. And if we love others, we are obeying Jesus' #1 commandment. And that's what we need to do. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys have been a wonderful audience. I appreciate the chance.